All right, guys. So, obviously, Tool has released their new album, and it's come out to much acclaim and some mixed reviews from some people, some of my friends. It's all over the map, honestly. Generally, people are very excited. Tool is and was a very popular band with a huge following, and I don't want to do disservice, but I have to say right off the bat, I think they're overrated. But there's some specific reasons why I think in 2019, today's world, they are overrated. But let's go back to it. So Tool really started coming out with bangers around 93 to 96 is my favorite era of Tool. Songs, obviously, like Sober. That one was a huge revelation for me. I mean, I still was listening to it on the rock radio back when that was a thing in the early 2000s, which, they had some really great grooves. They had a big sound. And, I've always jammed a few of those tunes and they were, they were great songs. There's no debating that Tool has written great songs. But over the years, I started to encounter these really hardcore fans, like strangely obsessed hardcore fans. And I'm sure the majority of my audience has encountered these, people that just live, breathe, and die for Tool. Like they want to go to the shows and they're kind of psycho, and that's fine. I mean, I'm not here to dictate what bands you listen to and what you like and what you don't, but it seemed like they had this kind of rabid following. And I think honestly, because there really isn't that much material to pick apart, they did kind of skip over a lot of filler in their catalog, which does help. So by percentage, then their catalog has some more interesting material, and they're a band that's existed for a long time. I mean, we're coming up nearly 30 years in a couple of years, so you're talking about a band that's, as music and the music scene has radically evolved, they've continued to make good music. And a lot of this stems from, I've seen a lot of posts, people talk about the new album, review it, etc., make jokes. They're a band that's always had a strong art direction, especially in the videos, and even across the album covers, they've had a really nice touches with the art, which I think is cool. And so let me backtrack a little bit. So about 8 years ago, I tried out for a band, and they were some guys that were from the local scene, and they were pretty cool. I didn't know them super well. I was really close friends with their former drummer at one point, and so they found out about me. I was a drummer at the time, so I go and try out for this band, and they were the most hardcore Tool fans. Like when you talked about their favorite music, they were Tool fans. And I was a casual fan. I was like, yeah, I've heard Schism, I've heard Sober, I've heard, stuff like that, the singles, and stuff that's cool, like Parabola, like stuff off that. And it's like, okay, cool, but they were just like way into it. Like that was their core sound. They were trying to pull off weird time signatures with kind of a rock metal type sound, which is cool. I mean, Tool is known for doing that. They have one of the greatest drummers of the modern era, I would think. Obviously, you can have your opinions about the musicianship of various people, and that's fine. But in my opinion, I started to realize like these fans are just crazy about it. I'm not saying there isn't something there, but I kind of forgot about it. And then I love the Joe Rogan podcast, by the way, and I listened to the interviews with Maynard James Keenan. I think I said it right. Yeah. Maynard's interviews. And so, he talked about how they're releasing the full catalog on Spotify and on the streaming services, which is really being late to the party, but who knows? Maybe it was a good marketing play. It seems like all their stuff's blowing up everywhere. I see news articles going over it. The one I just saw before I started this video said Tool to take Taylor Swift's spot on the Billboard chart or some such, which is cool. I mean, right on. The thing is as I started listening to the catalog, I pulled up the This Is Tool Spotify playlist, which is fun. I started to realize a lot of their material just sounds really dated. It's a product of the time. Back in 93 when those great songs came out, they were amazing. I mean, yeah, I mean, it was kind of a cool renaissance with the grunge era. And, that has its plus and minuses for some people, but I thought in general the songs are pretty cool. It was just an interesting take on rock and metal, and they had a lot of success during a time when metal was kind of going through an awkward stage. And so, yeah, I mean, I get why they had success then. And then, over the years, people, would start to learn, and they still existed as a band. They toured. And as I remember, and someone can correct me, because I'm sure they will in the comments, they had some, not only did they have kind of internal band disputes, but they really had some disputes. There was like a ongoing lawsuit with an artist about an album cover, and there was just a lot of things that were delaying their future work. And this is why I think Tool's overrated, because their catalog sounds very dated, especially the stuff from the early 2000s. It just sounds like a product of its time, which it was. I mean, you can't fault them for that. I mean, U2 has had some of my favorite albums all time, but they've had some awkward ones. The 90s electronic phase was pretty rough. That's the part of the catalog nobody listens to. And then, of course, they came out with, All That You Can't Leave Behind and some of the best songs in their catalog again. So, that's the one thing about Tools. They never really had an album that missed. They are kind of known for long drawn out kind of riffy songs. And I get to see maybe at a live show that would be a lot more entertaining, especially if you're under the influence of something. And that seems to be kind of on par for the course for the Tool fan. Again, hey, do your thing, have your scene, man. It's all good. And so, the point of this video is really to say, as I listened to a bunch of their catalog, I realized their material is just dated. That's just how it is. Now, when I listen to that album from A Perfect Circle, which has Maynard on it, I'm really impressed by it. I can get way more into that. It's a little more modern. It's got a way better sound, in my opinion. It's a little more evolved. I think the only downside to Tool is they kind of do Tool by the numbers, is a phrase I saw tossed around a lot around the release of this album. And I can relate to that. I mean, the riff is cool. The guitar, bass interlocking riff. Their bass is amazing, by the way. And the drummer has got this great tribal thing going on. And, they can groove for 8 minutes, and it sounds pretty cool. But it's an 8-minute groove, It can get worn out pretty fast if you're not in the mood for that. So, in summation, I kind of rambled and talked. This is the equivalent of a Tool song. It's just kind of rambling and da 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 da. And even if it was really interesting, at one point, after a certain point, it gets kind of worn out, and it's like, all right, whatever. So anyway, that's my thoughts on why Tool is overrated. Hope you enjoy. Like, subscribe. Thank you.